Hi, everybody. I wanted to take the opportunity today to say how excited we are about working on this project, and also to introduce our team and to give you a sense of how we work. So our team is Stoss, Höweler, Yoon, as well as Marshall Moya Design, Robert Silman Associates, Derek Landro Woody, and Ann Forsyth, PhD. And we think we brought together a great team, a very diverse team, all kinds of different expertise, all kinds of different collaborations that we've had in the past, and looking forward to working on this one together. The team brings together expertise in structures, in landscape, in ecology, in public art, in lighting, in furniture, in historic preservation, and I'm going to show you just a bit of that. One thing about the way we work, we love to work at all kinds of different scales. This is an example of a part designed by Stoss, where it comes down to the bench, to the place where you sit, and the bench does many things. It collects rainwater, it sort of slows down the infiltration of stormwater into the river, but it also brings people together. And that could be expanded out to the scale of the city, this kind of thinking about a kind of material responsive landscape where water is collected, places are made, events are held, and we could scale up from the bench to the city. That's one of the things that I think working with Stoss we've done in the past. I wanted to also show you a bridge that's familiar to you. This was done by Silman Associates just across the river for a pedestrian bridge at the waterfront park at the Yards. My own sort of small story here, my partner Mijin Yoon, who isn't here tonight, her dad is Dr. Yoon, who's been on MLK and U Street here for the last 30 years. We designed a small building for him at MLK and Talbert, so his office sort of moved here. This is Dr. Yoon, my father-in-law, standing in front of his practice right there on the corner of Talbert Street. So we do know the neighborhood. We've been in the neighborhood for a while. We're familiar with this sort of development as it's sort of changing in the neighborhood, which is pretty exciting. In terms of other experiences, Höweler Yoon was the designer for this building in China. We've been working both locally, extremely locally, but also globally. And this is true for our team. We do things in Dubai, for example, like this interactive public art piece. Marshall Moya Design here in DC worked on this historic renovation of the Howard Theater with Derek Landro Woody. One project that maybe raises some of the issues and gives you a sense of the way we work is the Green Bay City Deck project that Stoss did, where they took an existing waterfront that maybe was derelict and didn't have the activities. They created a new waterfront edge with this set of platforms, which brought people to the waterfront, brought development, economic development to the edge, reconnected the city to the waterfront. Here you see pictures of people relaxing and alone or in small groups. And this deck sort of creates this platform for all kinds of social activities, whether informal or organized, whether daytime or nighttime, festivals like this, but also creating points of access to the water where people can come down, they can see how clean the water is, they can get in the water, they can get in a boat, and that creates a sense of ownership of that waterfront, a sense of respect and responsibility for it. We also love the way that public spaces, successfully done, can bring people together. It can encourage a kind of active lifestyle, and that's something that we've been hearing a lot about. How does the well-designed public realm create a sense of public health and encourage a kind of lifestyle that's active and collective like this? A project that Höweler Yoon worked on with Stoss is this one at the Harvard Bridge called the Plaza. It's a place where people come together on the Harvard campus. It looks like a plaza, but it's a bridge. So the idea that a bridge is not just a place to cross, it's not about getting across, but it's also a place to hang out. It's a destination, and we're hearing that more and more here with this bridge. It's not just about getting across, but actually bringing people together. So this example that we're showing has benches for people to sort of linger, but also places for a tent to be erected, where you can have a flea market, for example, farmers markets, performances. So this kind of flexibility that's built into the design actually allows for these events to be staged, whether individually or collectively. One thing we like about this is that we don't tell people how to use public space. They kind of appropriate it. They find ways to inhabit it. they find ways to hang out on it. And I think when you look at the photographs of this space, it's incredibly active all the time, daytime, nighttime. And that's something, that's a quality that we aspire to, for all of our projects. This is an example of an existing subway entrance. That amphitheater there, it looks like an amphitheater, but it's really a subway entrance. So how do we take something like infrastructure, like a subway entrance that's necessary, and turn it into a public space? So here we sort of took the subway entrance. Oops, what did I do? Okay. Is there a way to get there? Okay, so that's the subway entrance coming out. This is the Massachusetts Bay Transit Authority Orange Line station. We added this amphitheater, which turned something that wasn't inhabitable into a kind of amphitheater, kind of public space, and encouraged different kinds of social activities. So hanging out, people watching. It's really sort of going to activate the downtown crossing site in downtown Boston. Another example is public programming. How do we bring, for example, this pop-up library, which brings books and reading and learning to different neighborhoods? This is a library we designed, and it's brought to the Boston Children's Museum for one day at a time to encourage sort of reading and learning there. Another thing that we're really passionate about is the idea of public art, and using public art as a way to bring people to a waterfront. This is an example of the Schuylkill River in Philadelphia, which is a city that's built between rivers but actually doesn't really engage the waterfront in a significant way. So for a few days we installed this light drift project that encouraged people to come down to the river through something very enticing like lighting. So we designed these floating orbs that are floating out there in the river. As you approach them, very simple technology like sensors change the light quality on the seat but also in the water. And so with a very simple infrared sensor and a wireless transmitter, we got people to sit down and activate the lighting condition, and that activation translated into the river. So you could control the lights in the river with your butt by sitting. It was incredibly magical. People came down, they were excited about what was happening, they saw it from a distance, and mostly it brought people to the waterfront, and they discovered their own city in a way. Another project, it's already been shown a couple of times. Kirk from Silliman worked on this as the engineer of record. The High Line was an existing rail line which was considered obsolete. How do you turn that rail line into a new, dynamic, pedestrian public space in the city? And that's the same kind of potential that we have here. How do you change the way people, how do you change the way people look at the city? How do they see the city new from this new vantage point? And how does the species of plants on that new deck sort of promote a different kind of experience of the city, walking in the city, recreating in the city. Silliman was also involved here on the St. Elizabeth's East Gateway Pavilion, which is currently underway. And the part that's pretty exciting is this pavilion space. So it's a landscape, it's also a venue. And the idea that bring people together in a kind of venue setting to form an identity about a community. Another venue is this interior theater, the Howard Theater that Marshall Moya designed, bringing people together, not just in a formal theater setting, but like this, to have a Gospel Sunday brunch, or to have people gather for a community presentation of design. These are things that spaces like this sort of encourage. They build a sense of community, a sense of togetherness. And taking that outdoors, Marshall Moya also designed this memorial park for Chuck Brown, which combines some of the kind of formal and informal aspects of gathering, along with kind of local histories about local figures in this memorial park. Lastly, I just wanted to say something about process. The idea of communities getting together, this seems like the perfect storm project, where communities gather, they articulate certain desires and certain needs, they engage with designers, much as we're doing tonight. And that's part of the way we work. We work through these, we work as a team, interdisciplinary teams. This is an example, Anne Forsyth at a design charrette, where she's working with people to figure out how do we encourage public health through design. Also outreaches to the community, trying to figure out what the community wants, communicating with them how the design process is going. So I just wanted to end by saying, at the end of the day, these public spaces, they're not just about trees or remediation, but they're actually about bringing people together. And that's people, whether it's in the design team or in the community. It's really about those people. Thank you very much.